He's back. By popular demand, I've had so many of you guys request that we go over some more of this video footage. I was just getting it ready to play, and I just can't. It's like memories. All right, this is the discussion that they're having. Let me fill you guys in before I play the video. They decided that the jury needed to see the vehicle that was driven through the parade, right? I mean, it's a key piece of evidence. There's it's just not question. I mean, common sense, right? But they can't bring it in the courtroom, obviously. So they have to take just like a crime scene, they have to take the jury out to go view it. Little Darrell now, he can't get it in his mind why this needs to happen if he does not consent to it or he does not believe that it's necessary. Or I'm sorry, the relevancy of it. So let's go.
I did provide the parties with a proposed instruction. Before I get to that though, Mr. Brooks, I have been thinking about your request yesterday. And I know I indicated to you that I would require you to be there. I've rethought that. I've had the overnight to really think about it. And if that is your decision to not be present for that, what I would say is this: I want you to be advised that you have a right to be at that.
Okay, let's just keep in mind here, he is representing himself. He's the only attorney on the defense side, and he doesn't think he needs to be there when they view the vehicle. Oh, Lord.
Jury view. Did you hear me say that?
Did you hear me say that?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much told me yesterday about, everything that was going on. I didn't agree to or consent to it being, well, I was still confused about why did there even need to be a jury view. That was my whole thing. I don't see the relevancy of it. And I also didn't agree with or consent to having to be part of something that I don't see as relevant.
I appreciate you making a record of that, but did you hear what I said, that you have a right to be present for it? I've ruled that let me back up.
She
There's been a
appreciates it.
request from the state to have the jury look at the vehicle that was recovered by the police and, of course, is alleged to be the vehicle that was driven through the parade. Did you hear me advise you of that?
Yes, I heard.
All right, so that motion was addressed previously, and I granted the request for that jury view. Did you hear me say that?
I'm informed.
All right, thank you. So with that, you have a right to be present at that jury view. Did you hear me say that?
Oh, bless her
I'm
heart.
informed.
And I would like you to be there. I believe it is a piece of evidence. That's why I've drafted jury instruction 152 the way that I did. Did you hear me say that?
I'm informed.
So my question to you then this morning is, do you want to be present at the jury view of the vehicle?
I don't see the reason why I would need to be present.
Well, that's my question to you, though, is do you want to be present for it? You are the accused in this case. You're the person who the state has alleged committed these acts. The jury view will be to view a piece of evidence that frankly can't come into the courtroom due to its size, and the jury's going to be shown that. So do you want to be present at that?
For the record, I'm not a person, I'm a human being. And no, I do not consent to or agree to being present at a jury view.
All right, then I'm going to honor his request, but what I am going to do, though, is as part of that process in any event, because it's being done in a secure location, is I have ordered that I want to make a record of what's being done, and I want a visual record of what is being done. And so this jury view is going to take place in the Sally Port of the jail. And precautions are being taken so that the jurors do not know where it's at. It'll look like a garage.
Do you guys see where she's going here? She's basically saying, look, if you're not going to be there, we're going to make sure that you can't come back and contest this. Oh, Lordy.
Right? Anything that says jail within the Sally Port is being covered up. That will be verified before anyone is taken in there. They will be transported to there. I'm not sure if they'll walk or drive because it's very close. But then the sheriff's department, because it's, as the court official, I'm in charge of keeping the record, not keeping the record, I'm in charge of making the record. It's the better way to say it. And I want to make sure that there's a record of what is done for this trial and certainly for any appellate purposes if need be. The sheriff's department, the sheriff's department is obviously charged with the security and safety of a courtroom, including the jurors. And so I have asked the sheriff's department to record. And so there is a camera that will be on a tripod that will record what's there before anyone gets there. I've instructed them to take that camera to walk around the vehicle.
And you know he's going to come back and say, well, wait a minute. I need to see that video before they go in and look at it.
While it's recording, to put it back on the tripod. And before the jurors and the court are brought in. Once we are brought in, it will also be recorded, and that contemporaneous recording, so that will be as we will walk around the vehicle one time. That will be recorded, and then both of those recordings are going to be made part of the record. Because the second recording is for the record and has the jurors, at this point I'm going to seal it so that at least until the conclusion of the case, given the order that I have regarding the what's referenced as an anonymous or numbered jury, so that will be sealed. But what will be released to the public or be made part of the public record, and so therefore any media request, would be that recording that just shows the vehicle without the jurors in it and without the court. So, and then I plan on also bringing that back to the courtroom while the sheriff's department's going to bring it back, and then we'll show it to you at that time.
I have a question though.
Go ahead.
Back to the beginning of where we were.
If I have a right to be present, then I have a right to not be present. How can this take place if I don't agree or consent to being present? How can it even still take place without me?
It will take place, sir. I'm just going to honor your request not to be there.
I'm asking a question though. How can it take place without my consent or agreement?
If you don't, it's going to take place. That's how I'm going to answer that, sir.
Bless her heart.
So you not going there is not going to prevent it from happening. But you can forfeit your right or to be there by your conduct. And by your conduct, by not answering my question,
I didn't do
by
that.
saying I don't want to be there and I don't consent to it, you will be forfeiting your right to be present and essentially waiving that.
Doesn't I have to sign something for it to be waived?
I don't think so in this case.
Well, yes.
She knows exactly what he's trying to do here. And and you know what? I have to give him credit because he's a little clever, because he's trying to make it sound like, oh, I don't understand it. And I think what his game plan is at the end is, this is going to be part of my appeal. We're going to throw this in the appeal. This is perfect. And first she's trying to explain it to him. Then she catches on to what he's doing. And she's like, oh, hell no. Mm-mm.
Today you said something about
I know I said that, and I've had some time to think about that further, and I don't believe I need to take a full waiver with you signing anything or even agreeing to the waiver.
So why did I have to do that for when my
I'm not going to answer those questions because that would be for me to give you an explanation of the law.
No.
I'm just going to tell you that I'm not going to require a written waiver from you in order to honor your request to not be at the, or even if I phrase it, your lack of consent to the jury view.
And is that lawful law? Because
Sir, I'm not going to go through all the law that applies to that.
way
This is
I-
my ruling. If you disagree with it and ultimately there is a conviction, you can raise that on appeal. But
No,
your lack
Your
of
Honor.
consent is not going to stop the jury view. It's going to happen. It's a piece of evidence that I cannot physically fit in this courtroom. It's too big. There's no way to get it in.
okay, I'm informed of that, but at the same time, if I haven't signed any waiver, how could it be lawful? I haven't given consent or agreement to a jury view. I haven't waived any right. When the whole issue was brought up
Oh,
on the record yesterday, my first thing that I said was, I don't see the relevancy of why there should even be a jury view. And that was the whole issue. And yesterday I was told
that was
about
the whole thing.
I don't know how you say it, the colloquy or however you say it. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I know
Which
what
was-
I said, and
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I had time to reflect. That was my initial reaction to your statement yesterday, but I've thought about it some more, and I'm changing my mind.
Decided you're an idiot,
I
and I'm
don't
gonna do it
believe I
anyway.
need to take a full waiver with a colloquy with you and anything in writing.
A call of what?
I'm advising you, you have the absolute right to be there. But I'm also advising you that if you choose not to be there, I will honor that request. And I'm not
Your
going to
Honor, the way-
force you. I'm not going to direct the sheriff's department to, use any type of force, if you will, or require you or get you there.
Can you imagine if they had to start with the wheelchair when he was doing the jury viewing? It would have been his wheelchair debut.
Without your consent. You either cooperate with that process or you don't.
The way I interpret the law, though, Your Honor, which the law is designed to be interpreted by the people. The way I interpret
Oh
that
my
is
gosh.
I have the right, or essentially, to be there or not to be there, and it still has to be an agreement or consent. That's how I interpret the law.
My ruling on that, sir, is I disagree with you. You do not need to provide consent for the jury view to happen. Your objection is noted for the record. I'll make a specific finding today that it is relevant to these proceedings, to this trial. There is an allegation that you drove through the Waukesha Christmas Parade on November 21 of 2021, driving a red Ford Escape, injuring dozens more. The relevance is that there is, in addition to the charges, there's an enhancer that has been charged as it relates to the intentional homicide charges and the first degree recklessly endangering safety, that you committed those acts while using a dangerous weapon. I would direct your attention to the meaning of a dangerous weapon, that the legal definition that was provided to the jurors
Is he still awake?
in the preliminary jury instructions, and that the jury view related to the evidence that the state is presenting regarding the charges, and specifically the instrumentality that they allege is the dangerous weapon. So their relevance of this vehicle and has evidentiary value. Again, your objection is noted for the record, but I will and am permitting the jury view of the vehicle.
I'm going to have to clip some of this and I've already picked out the pieces I'm going to clip, and I'm going to do another video of just the stupid things that just came out of his mouth a few minutes ago. I can't even. I mean, it's just so dumb. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. The people have a right to interpret the law. What?
With that, I'm going to move on to the jury instruction.
I don't agree or consent to that, Your Honor.
I understand your
If I'm
objection
not-
is well noted for the record. I need
Well
to keep
noted.
going though on the pattern and
I'm
jury.
informed that you need to keep going. I'm not trying to stop you from continuing to go. I'm merely stating for the record that there are things I do not understand how how they're being permitted versus the Constitution.
Obviously, that statement is not going to be in the Darrell Brooks School of Law, everyone.
I mean, I'm sure you're aware under Article 6, Chapter 2 about the Supremacy Clause that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So how can we disregard?
Mr. Brooks, I'm not disregarding the Constitution. Here's the thing, I've made my ruling, okay? Once I've made a ruling, I do expect that even if you disagree with it, you will not continue to argue it.
It's not
that
arguing.
We will continue on with the next
I'm seeking to understand, Your Honor. It's not an argument.
Mr. Brooks, I'm not going to explain further other than what I have done, my ruling. My ruling stands. Now, I'm going to move on to the jury instruction. I gave the parties
May I
2
respectfully
documents.
reject that ruling and take exception to that ruling?
Your objection is noted. I'm
For the
moving
record,
on
may
to
I
jury.
request a legal and factual basis for your
Mr.
ruling,
Brooks,
Your
please
Honor?
don't interrupt me, okay? I give you an opportunity to raise your objections and to make your legal arguments.
raising
and then I make a
objection now.
ruling, and then you start in on something else. You need to give me your argument all at once. For you to interrupt me afterward is disruptive to me.
I got to throw in my Hail
It's
Marys.
not disruptive.
And it's interrupting and it's disruptive.
It is definitely not disruptive.
Well, that's my view of things, sir, and what I'm putting on the record is that it does disrupt what I'm doing and the flow of what I'm doing and needing to move on, having to interrupt what I'm doing so that I can address that once again. Please, please. I know you may not always agree with my rulings, but I'd ask that you show the courtesy and decorum that is expected of everyone. And once I make a ruling, we're going to move on. You don't need to keep objecting because your objection's already been noted for the record. I'm going to continue. We're going to look at jury instruction 152.
Well,
I gave the parties 2 documents yesterday. One was the pattern instruction, which
What is he saying?
I've modified, and then one is the draft of, and Mr. Brooks, please stop. You're continuing to talk over me.
Because you
You're
didn't,
interrupting.
you said I have the right to object, and you didn't let me even get to the objection.
I did, sir.
No, you
Okay?
didn't. I was right in
Your
the middle of
objection
it.
comes before the ruling, not after. Once I make a ruling, we're moving on.
You made a ruling before we even finished the conversation, Your Honor. What?
Brooks,
Before
please
we
stop.
even finished.
That's not
Because he believes that this discussion should last a good couple hours because unless it doesn't, he's got to go back to his jail cell. He's thinking that he could get a good day's worth of court in on this one argument, and he's mad that she's not going to let him do it. Because his whole delay.
true. Okay?
You
It's
said
not
I'm gonna
true.
make a ruling. As soon as you even started in about
Mr. Brooks, I'm not
having
going
the
to
time to
spend
think.
hours on end making a ruling about a jury view on something I've already decided. All right, so please, I'm asking you to stop. Stop interrupting me.
You can't.
And please
you can't
listen.
just disregard the United States Constitution, which has a
I
supremacy
absolutely am
clause.
not disregarding the
You
United
are.
States
You're
Constitution
not
or the
honoring your oath
Constitution of
office.
the state
Your
of
Honor, are you
Wisconsin.
not a public servant?
Okay,
we
Mr.
go back
Brooks,
with the oath?
you're starting to cross the line. You've already crossed it, but I want to keep going. I
didn't
want you in
cross
this
any
courtroom.
line.
But if you keep interrupting me and putting you on notice that you run the risk of being forfeiting your right to be present in this
what now?
courtroom and continuing in the next courtroom so that I can effectively and without interruption continue with the proceedings this
So again,
morning.
you're holding me in contempt.
All right. Jury instruction 152. Has the state had an opportunity to review it?
Is that a judicial determination that I'm being held in contempt?
And I agree generally with the court's proposed instruction. I did submit kind of a counter-proposed instruction following much of the you had in your version, Your Honor. I just think it's maybe better to refer to this area as a garage instead of a sally port. I don't know that anybody knows what a sally port is unless they work in this industry. And instead of referring it as being in the Waukesha County Jail, I just suggested a garage attached to the Waukesha County Courthouse. I think that is factually accurate and would dispel any concerns about anybody being in custody or reference to a jail setting. I did email my proposed instruction to your clerk, and I e-filed it, but I admittedly just did that a few minutes ago. So that's why I emailed it to the clerk, because it's probably not in your queue yet.
All right, why don't we print that off so that Mr. Brooks can review that as well.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Being called that name, and what do I need to be reviewing?
The state has submitted an alternate proposal for instruction 152.
Okay, this is where it gets a little crazy because he's he's going to talk about.
That's referring to this
I already looked at the
quote
document.
unquote jury view.
Yes.
Quote unquote. He's so frustrated. I love it.
Thank you.
I accept for value in return for value this document. Now, I'd like the record to reflect I still haven't received my original copies of my filings here this morning
Up, going on to another topic
with the timestamp.
with the timestamp. He's trying to think of what he's going to say. What kind of other thing can he throw out there now? What other kind of delay tactic can we come up with?
Let me know when you've had an opportunity to review it if you so choose.
I just stated for the record I accept for value in return for value the document.
Do you have any position on this state's proposal?
He's going to get mean.
I'm still trying to understand the whole process.
Mr. Brooks, my question to you is, do you have any position on the state's proposed jury instruction? Otherwise, I'm going to rule on their request.
You're going to rule on the request anyway. I got a lot of questions that don't get answered.
I have to rule on the request, sir. It's been a proposal filed with the court.
You haven't ruled on subject matter jurisdiction yet.
Yes, I have.
No, you
In
haven't.
any event, do you have a position on the jury view, sir?
Yeah, what about subject matter jurisdiction?
One last time, Mr. Brooks, do you have a position on
Can
the
I
state's
go over the
proposed-
document, please? Can I do that, Your Honor? Respectfully
sorry?
for the record, may I do that?
Mad do that. He's so rude. Things aren't going to go his way, so he's going to get pissy like a little 3-year-old. Most judges wouldn't have put up
It
with
seemed
that
like
right
the
there.
same thing that was there yesterday.
It's the
It's
same.
not. There are some changes.
What changes?
Reference
It's
to
the same.
the-
It's the same document. That was
Reference to
accepted for value in
the-
return for value yesterday. The same document.
It's not the same. The changes were put on the record verbally by the state. It's taking out reference to Sallyport of the Waukesha County Jail, referring to it simply as a garage attached to the Waukesha County Courthouse. Those would be in the first 2 paragraphs. I believe the rest is the same.
No, he don't understand.
So it was a couple words changed.
That's my understanding.
So it's
It
the
works.
same document.
Let me know when you're finished reviewing it and
I
have a
don't
question.
have to review the same document that was reviewed yesterday. Accepted for value in return for value yesterday.
All right, then let me ask you this, sir. Do you have
He's not
a
gonna do any extra
position
work.
on the proposed instruction from the state?
It's essentially the same document. What was the significance of the change? What's the significance? Garage, Sallyport. What is the relevancy of what it's called?
State want to put on the record again the basis for the changes you made. Of course, when I drafted this yesterday, factually, what I put in there would be accurate because that's where the jury view is going to take place. I think changing the verbiage so that it says a garage attached to the Waukesha County Courthouse takes away any possibility that other law enforcement is condoning what is happening or somehow related to the case. It is true the location was selected due to your custodial status and being able to secure the area for the court, for you, for the jurors, etc. But it's also a controlled environment, I think, a good thing for purposes of the jury view. And so I am going to adopt the draft that was submitted by the state. It still is factually accurate. And from my perspective, again, the importance of this instruction is to tell them what is and what is not evidence, and to instruct them and to not talk during this time. They can't discuss what they see during this time. This instruction will be read while we are still in the courtroom prior to the parties and the court going to the Sally Port for that viewing. And I've already discussed how it will be contemporaneously recorded so that it's part of the record as well.
So if I was there, where will I be at?
My understanding, if you choose to be there, is you will be escorted like you are in court here now. The bailiffs would be with you. You'd be in your suit.
No, where will I be at?
I don't know exactly. That's up to the sheriff's department as to where all the parties are going to stand.
They got to cover up your chocolates.
Obviously, you would, we're not going to commingle you with the state or the state with jurors or you with the jurors or the court or anything like that. My understanding is we'll have sort of assigned places, and that it's only myself who will walk around. And I may not even do that. I have to think about that. But the jurors are the ones who are going to walk around the vehicle one time.
So I don't get to walk around the vehicle?
I can have you do that before the jurors come in. I certainly can have you do that if you would like. I can give the parties that opportunity.
May I add something else, Your Honor? I agree with everything the court said. I also think Mr. Brooks should understand that it will be a fair process. He's not going to be led into the room in shackles in front of the jury. It's my understanding from Captain Dussault, the attorneys for the state, the prosecution team will be in the room. Mr. Brooks will be in the room. We will be in our assigned location. It will be fair. It will match. There will be basically no distinction between Mr. Brooks appears to the jury versus how we appear to the jury. We will be in there first. If the court's willing to allow him to walk around the car one time to look at it, we have no objection to that. And then the jurors will come in. No one will speak. They will do one lap around the car. They will leave the room, and then the parties will leave the room. That's my understanding, Your Honor.
And I will add to that, because it's been a while since I had some preliminary discussions with the Sheriff's Department on this, that if however many bailiffs, sheriff's deputies are with you, I want the same number with the state, right? And that's what we mean by it will look no different. So each party will be accompanied by deputies.
I have a question to that.
Okay.
How come none of that knowledge of how it would be conducted was discussed with me? I didn't know anything about how the bailiffs would actually do things. How
y'all just gave him more
certain things
material.
Would go to. This is my first time hearing this.
Well, we have
So
preliminary.
I don't understand it.
We have preliminary discussions at the time of the request back in August, when you still were represented by counsel. And then I had some additional preliminary discussions, if you will, internally with court staff, which included Captain Dussault and someone from the jail to talk about it and the logistics of it. And then, of course, we're having the discussion now, which is, again, why there's no jury here now. I wanted to wait until the appropriate time and then make a record of everything.
But don't you
At no time did I have conversations independently with the state. They had filed a letter at one point because they themselves had, again, my understanding, and Attorney Opera can correct me if I'm wrong, had some discussions to see if it was feasible. They had some discussions with Captain Dussault. And Captain Dussault is with the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. Of course, the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department and the sheriff is statutorily responsible for the security of the campus, security of the courtroom. And so that would be the proper person for any party to have discussions about a piece of evidence such as this. But I did not have any discussions with the state myself. That only happened in the setting of a courtroom or when a letter was received and I reviewed it.
I haven't reviewed that letter or seen it. Don't you think that?
It was specifically addressed at the jury status hearing, at which time he was represented by Attorney Perry and Attorney Keys. It is on file, and
But he doesn't have a copy of it.
it was addressed
can't
by
find
this
it.
court. Many of these details, Your Honor.
They're gonna make her get a
All right.
copy.
Many of the same
So-
details that's being discussed right now at this moment.
All right, Mr. Brooks, do you have a request as it relates to any of that?
Well, yeah, I'm still trying to understand the whole
How can y'all do
how
this
this
to
is
me?
all working, and then it was a reference to how the shackles would look, or how being
Shackling.
shackled or not being shackled. I'm guessing that I can't just walk around freely with bailiffs. I'm sure there would be some type of shackles.
No, Darrell, never again in your life will you ever be able to walk around freely, my friend.
I will tell them you are not to be shackled visibly for the jury to see.
And what do you mean by visibly,
And-
Your Honor?
So, obviously, when you sit in court, you're shackled to a table. They can't see that. I'm not going to have you in belly chains or in leg shackles. You're just going to be escorted. And it will be up to them how they determine.
Well, he may be in leg shackles, Your Honor, if there's a table or some way that they can keep that out
Just one time I want her to look at him and go, well, hell, I don't know, Darrell.
of view of the jury. Just like he is in court. He's shackled in court. He has been for 3 weeks.
Actually, these are
The
Shock
security
device.
has to be left at the discretion of the sheriff's
Eight
department.
through
actually these are
Exactly.
leg shock devices, not shackles.
Sir, the security is up to the sheriff's department. I should be careful not to overstep my bounds on that. And, you know, whatever is done, it should not be viewable or visible to the jury.
And why is that, Your Honor? I don't understand that part. Why is the jury not privileged to see
That is to your benefit.
shock?
I'm not going to explain that any further.
I don't understand. I'm just seeking to understand. I don't know.
All right, I need to move on. So unless there's a specific request, other than a statement that
Yeah.
you're making about your lack of understanding, I need to move on with the other topics
There is
I
a
need to
specific
cover.
request. Why do I have to have ankle shocks on my ankles
Oh, now he's going to be there.
appear at this jury view thing?
I guess I'm not aware of what you're talking about. So were you advised by the sheriff's department that that would be the case?
Well, the DA just said that I would have the ankle shocks on.
No, shackles, she
Ankles.
said.
No, these are not shackles. They're a shock device.
Judge, I think perhaps we can move on. I think maybe because this is going to have to occur on a break, the bailiffs can take him down there if Captain Dussault is willing, show him what it's going to be like, show him how he's going to get there, and he can decide at that point if he wants to be there or not when the jury comes in the room. We're spending a lot of time talking about security and things that are frankly beyond your knowledge and my knowledge.
I object to that. I'm simply trying to understand, why do I need ankle shocks?
I'm going to leave the security. I'm not going to make any specific orders. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I will leave the security of the jury view to the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. That is their responsibility. And I trust that they will do what needs to be done to maintain the security, no different than what they do here. And in their discretion will determine how best that takes place. And if I need to address anything after that or at that point in time, then it should be brought to my attention. But we are going to move on this morning.
So I should discuss that with the sheriff.
Yes.
Yes. Whew, y'all worn out? It's exhausting. How long was that? That was, oh, how long was that video? I don't even know. It didn't show up on here. It's just exhausting. Can you imagine? They had to do this for what? Was it 3 weeks? I don't even remember. It's been so long. I don't even remember. But I do see, like, now watching this back after, being so involved in it back then, you see how Sue Opera kind of takes over a little bit? Like, she kind of goes into judge mode. So who thinks that Sue Opera's going to go for the judge position? You know she is. She going to be up there. She did. I mean, she honestly did. I think sometimes she did have to like rein everybody in and go, wait a minute, we're just. And then as she did that, you notice the judge was like, okay, yeah, I need to pull back on this because, we're not going to talk about them chocolates, Mr. Darrell. All right, well, whatever, Scrappy Doo. I wonder if he has chocolates on when they take him to his other courts over at Branch 46 and Branch 10 with the other judges. Bet he didn't bring that up. All right. Well, thanks for being here, guys. There's more to come. I'm taking all the cobwebs off of my Darrell Brooks stuff. We're gonna weed out some more bits and pieces for you guys. Maybe it's time to do another School of Law video because he wants it to be heard. And just to reiterate, none of the proceeds from the Darrell Brooks School of Law go to Darrell Brooks. They go to the Carrie funds of feeding her babies, which are my pets. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Y'all have a grand day and stay blessed.